tribulations, my heart, my balls, my somebody stop, somebody come and get me. Little did I know that the Lord was riding with me. The law, the light, my heart, the fight, the wrong, the right is gone.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review from the Toronto Film Festival. So here, I'm reviewing the best horror movie of the Toronto Film Festival. I absolutely love this movie. And this is directed by Mr. John Hyams, written by Kevin Williamson, the great man who wrote Scream. And this one is called Sick, and it stars Gideon Atlon, Dylan Sprayberry, Bethlehem Million, and Jane Addams. And here's a quick synopsis of this film. In the midst of a pandemic, college students Parker and her best friend Myra decide to self-quarantine at her family's lake house, where they are to be alone, or so they think. So, Sick is a classic slasher film from the beginning of it. Like, we are introduced to these killers and what they do at the beginning of this film. We don't know why. We are automatically set in the setting of the pandemic from a grocery store's perspective, as this kid is going around a grocery store attempting to get groceries. And from there, the madness starts as he gets these text messages that make absolutely no sense. And then we get to killing. We get everything started. And then after that, we are introduced to the girls and Parker and Myra. And when we're introduced to them, they're leaving school to self-quarantine. So we kind of understand the time period that we're in. This is a COVID movie, a COVID-focused movie, actually. I'm not going to say COVID movie. Very much a COVID-focused movie, but not necessarily a COVID movie, meaning I don't believe this was shot during the pandemic. But it's definitely a COVID-focused movie because of the setting that we get, that they're doing this to self-isolate from everybody to this huge lake house where it's told from the jump that, you know, the nearest neighbor is 2 miles away. You kind of know what's going to happen here. As the girl self-quarantined, then a guy shows up who happens to be one of the girl's friends, in a way, I'm going to say. And then the mayhem starts. And unfortunately for horror movies, you know, we can't really get into the mayhem, because the moment you get into the mayhem of a horror movie, you kind of give away the plot of it. What I'm going to say, this movie is a good hour and 25, hour and 30 minutes. It's very lean. It's no wasted scenes in this movie. It gets directly to the point of what this movie is, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. From the moment they get into the house and the moment they get comfortable, we kind of know what's going to happen, and then it's off to the races. And when it gets off to the races, this movie is amazing on so many levels. This is almost, well, for this generation, this could be the perfect slasher film, because it gives you everything you need to get. It gets this killer who seems just to be unstoppable. But then you get these two female leads, and what I do like about what we're getting now out of horror with the female leads is that they're not babies. They're not people who fall and trip and they need someone to rescue them. These two girls are badass through this entire film for the things they do to defend themselves from this killer. It makes this movie great, along with the direction, which is amazing. The score, again, in this type of horror movie, with Kevin and John being behind the scenes of it, you kind of expect top notch. But I didn't expect it to be this good. Again, and even going into this festival, I knew a little bit about Sick. I didn't know a lot about it. Leaving this festival, I understand this is an amazing horror movie. I haven't felt this way about horror movies since Fear Street Part 1, when I thought, wow, this is definitely going to change the way you view horror movies. Sick is a movie that is entertaining. The story is amazing. The killer is great. The big reveal, the big twist that you're going to get by the end of this movie will blow you away, because it's hilarious. And it makes so much sense for the time period that we're in. Like, this is a very much time period type of horror film. But the way it's shot, the tension it builds, is something that can play forever. But it's definitely going to be something like, in this time period, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes perfectly good sense for this to be the killer motive. and it works in wonders here. I can't say enough about this movie. As someone who loves horror, as someone who has seen a lot of movies in this film festival that were supposed to be horror and not necessarily were horror, or lean possibly more to the horror comedy aspects of it, this has comedic moments, but this is a straight horror movie that I think anyone who loves horror will truly enjoy. Sick. So, Sick, brought to you from the Toronto Film Festival, out of a possible 10. I know this is going to sound odd. Now, I already know it's going to sound odd what I'm about to say. But out of a possible 10, I'm going to give Sick a 10 out of 10. And again, to me, horror movies aren't judged necessarily by like normal movies are. It's a scale. Because it's certain things and certain tropes that are in horror movies that if they are perfected good, even though you see them coming a mile away, if it's perfected good, it makes for a great horror movie. So it's not necessarily a 10 out of 10 for Sick won't be something that a 10 out of 10 for The Fabelmans or another huge drama that's going to come out this festival. This movie is enjoyable. This movie is as close to a perfect horror movie as I've gotten in a pretty long period of time. I loved every aspect of it. The killer is amazing in it. The girls are great in it. Like, it's no anointed characters and it's no fluff. That's all you ask from horror movies, especially slasher movies, is don't give me fluff. Give me a straightaway film so I know exactly what I'm getting into, and then unleash it and let me go along for the ride. That's what Sick does, and I think anyone who loves horror, you're gonna really like this movie. This has been another review from the Toronto Film Festival. Peace, people.